Welcome to Intuitive Transformations with your host, Sylvia Henderson, and discover tools, wisdom, and inspiration that will empower you to transform your life. Sylvia is an intuitive life coach and energy healer with a growing practice that is focused on empowering others to be more of who they want to be. For the next hour, join Sylvia and explore and unravel anything in the way of you creating the life that you would love to live on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to the Intuitive Transformations radio show, where you will find tools you can use to change and transform your life. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, as you know, and I'm here every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time and 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live right here on OMTimes Radio Network, the voice of consciousness. And this is the place that you really want to be. And why is that? Well, because the Intuitive Transformations radio show is where you get to connect with creative and conscious minds on a soul-to-soul level and receive valuable information and find resources that will inspire you to expand into more of who you truly are so that you can step more boldly into what you love and desire to receive and experience in your life. And there is no better place to connect soul to soul than right here on OMTimes Radio, where you can easily find a wide variety of consciousness-based programs and consciously selected music for your listening pleasure 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And if you have not yet taken advantage of your free subscription to OMTimes magazine, well, of course, I'm going to encourage you to do that. For more information about OMTimes Radio, OMTimes Magazine, and the OMTimes Advisors, please be sure to visit OMTimes.com. That's OMTIMES.com. And, of course, if you'd like to raise your consciousness on a deeper and more personal level and create some real change in your own life, well, then contact me for a complimentary 15-minute consultation and discover firsthand how I can help you transform your life and how you can experience the change that you have been waiting for. To do that, just visit my website at intuitivetransformations.net. That's intuitivetransformations with an S.net. And while you are there, well, please be sure to like me on Facebook and also follow me on Twitter. And I also want to remind you that if you're feeling a little stuck in your life and you would like to be added to my prayer list, that's something I would really enjoy doing for you. I do believe that God, the universe, and life are supportive. However, you have to ask in order to receive. So if you need a little extra spiritual juice going and some positive support in your life, then just let me know, because I'm here. That's part of the reason I do this show, is to help people, and that's part of what I do in my own personal practice. You are never alone, and no matter what challenge or obstacle you may be facing in your life, I guarantee you that either a course correction can happen or a positive turn of events is possible for you. I also want to remind you, those that are listening in the United States as well as in other countries that also practice daylight savings time, that as of 1 a.m. this morning, November 1st, 2015, daylight savings time was officially over. That means that you got to sleep in an extra hour today. And if you forgot about the time change, then hopefully I have at least saved you from showing up at work on Monday morning an hour too early. So be sure to turn your clocks back 1 hour, take advantage of a little extra rest tomorrow morning, and so that you can get your week off to the right start. So I hope that you are ready once again to be inspired and encouraged. One of the things I love about my show is that I get to introduce people who either inspire others by their lives or by what they teach, and today is no exception. Today I have Levi Ben-Shmuel joining me, and Levi has done something that I find really fascinating, in that he has amassed substantial knowledge and understanding of Judaism's mystical Kabbalah and the Taoist-inspired Tai Chi. And he has combined his understanding of these two principal teachings and their wisdom into an inspirational and practical guidebook that he has authored titled Living Wisely. So before I bring Levi here onto the show, let me share a little bit of his background with you all. Levi is a Tai Chi and Kabbalah teacher who studied Tai Chi intensely while living in the Boston area. After earning a master's degree in economic development from M.I.T., Levi moved to Israel in 1991, where he began teaching the Chinese martial arts. Levi lived in Israel for 10 years, where he studied the mystical teachings of Kabbalah in Jerusalem. Sorry about that. This inspired him to embrace what his teacher called the divine romance, which is living an intimate relationship with the divine that is rooted in unconditional love. Levi is the co-creator of Sulam Chi, also known as the ladder of life force energy, which is a flowing set of movements that integrates the energies of Tai Chi with the Kabbalah's mystical tree of life. Levi is the author of Living Wisely. He's a singer-songwriter, a featured blogger on the Huffington Post, and he is a contributor to the book How to Achieve a Heaven on Earth, which is a collection of 101 insightful essays that encourage people to focus on positive change and improving the quality of their life. So, Levi, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Hello, how are you, my friend?
Sylvia, I am very well. Thank you for your lovely introduction and your warm welcome to be part of your show.
Well, I am just thrilled to have you here because I have to tell you, I am fascinated at what you've done, and I just really think that those that are listening are going to be so intrigued as well, because you've really created something very unique by combining these two ancient wisdom teachings that come from completely different cultures, but you put them together in a collection of clear, very easily digestible nuggets of wisdom. And so I have a lot of questions for you, but I want you to explain for those who are listening and they're unfamiliar with these ancient teachings, or at least they've only heard of them in name. Can you explain a little bit about what Taoism is and what the Kabbalah is, just in a general?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Taoism is an ancient Chinese philosophy that is the energetic behind Tai Chi Chuan, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And the Tao, the Tao is talked about in a way that if you try to name it, you miss it. If you try to grab hold to it in any way, it's this elusive energy that is basically the creative intelligence that animates all of life, all of creation. We have an opportunity, since we are part of that energetic field, to live our lives to the best of our abilities to be in harmony with this energetic, or if we choose to move more towards focusing on our egos and just our own desires, then we miss the opportunity to be part of this harmonious energetic flow.
Gotcha. So how does the Tao differ from Qi or Prana? Is it the same, or is it that which emanates Qi and Prana?
Exactly. It is the source that emanates these. As you pointed out, there are many names depending on which tradition that you want to associate with that talk about this life force energy. So exactly right. It is the source of this energy.
Awesome. And then how does the Kabbalah relate to Taoism in that way? I mean, so you shared a little bit about the Tao. Talk just in general a little bit about Kabbalah.
Okay. Just to let the audience know, there are a few different pronunciations of Kabbalah. The modern Hebrew pronunciation is Kabbalah, and that's the one I'm going to use. But the pronunciation you're using, Sylvia, is perfectly fine as well. So we can use both of them as we continue the conversation. Kabbalah is, as you mentioned in the intro, it's the mystical side of the Jewish tradition. Kabbalah means to receive. And what I learned from my teacher, one of the most valuable things we could receive is the gift of unconditional love from the divine. So the Kabbalah, one way to look at it is it's a system that lets us embrace what our essence truly is, which is this love that lives inside of us as well, directly connected to the source. One of the major tools used to explore this love is Kabbalah's Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is an energetic map of divine energy flowing through creation. It flows through every aspect of creation, including ourselves. And because it's radio, we can't show your listeners a diagram of what the Tree of Life looks like, but it has 10 energetic centers and one hidden one. They're called Sphirot in Hebrew. The singular pronunciation is Sphira. And each one of these energy centers is an emanation of divine energy with certain qualities associated to it. There are names of God associated with it in Hebrew. There are colors, there are sounds. And through working with these energies, we can get in touch with them within our own being and learn to open ourselves to share the underlying love that's at the root of these different energies in our thoughts, in our actions, in our everyday lives, to help us be the greatest gifts that we can be in this world.
Wow. So it's interesting because I think about Chinese medicine and how they have, earth and water and all the elements and how qi moves through that. We'll return in just a moment. We're going into a break. We're going to be gone for just about 2 minutes. When we return, we're going to continue this conversation, this fascinating conversation about the Kabbalah as well as about Taoism. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
If you remember living fearlessly, joyfully, and in a world filled with adventure, happiness, pleasure, and unbridled living, then this show is for you. Join me, Dame Nicole Brandon, as I bring you the world's top experts in wealth, creativity, flow, sea-edging technology, space, wellness, health, love, lust, and passion, all merging together each week here at the Hub of Happiness. Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Passionate Living, where you can ride on the magic carpet ride of living and learn how to lead a passionately wild, exciting, and outrageously amazing life.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Well, hello and welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson. You're listening to Intuitive Transformations on the OMTimes radio network here. And I have with me my very special guest, Levi Ben-Shmuel. And we're talking about Taoism and Kabbalah. And I'm going to let him pronounce it the way he does so well. I struggle with pronunciations that are words that are different for me. I apologize. I do want to ask you, though, how is it that you came to combine these two? I know that there are some similarities. You've kind of expressed that earlier in how you described Taoism and then the Kabbalah. But, you know, what was it about these two teachings that where you could see the patterns of synchronicity? Is it that they are a mirror of one another, or is it just that they complement each other?
Well, let me tell you a little bit about the story behind how I got to embrace both of these systems and fall in love with both of these systems. Back in the 1980s, I was living in Boston, and there was something about Tai Chi that intrigued me. I really didn't know anything about it, but I don't know if you've had that experience, Sylvia, that sometimes you're drawn to something, you don't know why, but it turns out it's going to be something that's very important in your life.
Absolutely.
So that's what it was for me in Tai Chi. I went to an adult intro course, was fascinated by what I saw. The teacher was the son of a Chinese master who had a studio in Chinatown in Boston. And at the end of that short course, he invited us all to his father's studio. And I'll never forget what I saw that first day I walked in. His father was a relatively short man, and he was working with a large American student. They were standing facing each other with their hands up, touching palm to palm. If you could imagine grasping both of your hands together and then touching the palms of the opposite person. And they were doing these subtle little movements. Didn't seem like much was going on. But suddenly the master kind of flicked his wrist, and this very large American flew across the room about 20 feet away and bounced off the opposite wall.
Wow.
It's exactly my reaction. And I said, I have to know what is going on.
So wait a minute, because I've seen this in movies. You actually saw this happen right in front of your eyes.
I saw it many times over the years I studied in that studio. What Master Jin Sun Chu was doing was giving a very graphic demonstration of what it means to work directly with Qi. And the exercise that he was doing with the student is called push hands. And I learned Tai Chi in a martial arts school. I don't know if many people know this, but Tai Chi Chuan is a martial art. Most people learn it for health and relaxation purposes, it's a fantastic system for that. But the essence of it is a martial art. So what he was doing was basically sensing deeply the energy flow in the student he was working with. And when he sensed a point of imbalance, he then took advantage of that imbalance by directing his Qi and redirecting the other student's Qi in this amazingly graphic demonstration.
Wow, that is fascinating. So this is what drew you into Tai Chi.
So that hooked me. And then I fell in love with the philosophy behind it. And honestly, my desire was, as a younger man, I want to master this and I want to be able to do the same thing. The power of it really intrigued me. But over the years of study and touching the Tao in the way that I did, I could sense in the Tao this intelligence that's behind everything, this love. It wasn't talked about in all the studies that I did around Taoism. Love wasn't talked about much, but I sensed underlying this intelligence was a love and is a desire for us to find harmony and balance in our own lives, and then in turn to find harmony and balance in the world outside of ourselves. So in the practice of Tai Chi Chuan, you learn to sense within yourself the different energies at play. You learn to sense parts where you're hard, where you're blocked. You learn to try to relax as best as you can, to open up your own energetic channels to be in harmony with this greater flow. And then when you're working with whatever the outside force might be, and as we know, life can give us some pretty challenging outside forces, instead of just trying to resist them or push them away or ignore them or wish them away in some way, Tai Chi gives you the invitation to work with these energies and try to find a way to bring them back into this greater harmonious flow that is the underlying energy of the Tao.
Beautiful. So how then does the Kabbalah relate to Tai Chi, and how, I mean, again, are they a mirror of one another, so to speak, or is it a complementary, synergistic?
Okay, well, the commonality for me, as I mentioned a minute ago, I sense this underlying loving intelligence in the Tao. Mm-hmm. And in Taoism, there's no language related to God or any kind of deity or the opportunity to have any kind of intimate relationship with a creator. It's to be in harmony with all that is. In Kabbalah, coming out of Judaism, there is a very strong acknowledgement of a creator, the divine, God, whatever term one likes to use to talk about this loving intelligence in a different way. In Kabbalah, there is the opportunity to have this intimate relationship with this incredible force that at the same time is animating all of creation. I mean, this Sylvia, this is an idea that I will never fully wrap my head around, that this amazing force that brought creation into being at the same time is open and available, that each of us can have a personal relationship with the divine. Mm. So on the Taoist side, there are, these very practical ways of learning to sense and work with the energies of creation. And in Kabbalah, there's, as I mentioned in the previous segment, there are many tools to access it. The one that I became most familiar with is the Tree of Life. In Taoism, most people are familiar with, people call it the Yin-Yang Diagram, mm-hmm. which, the circle with the white and black kind of fish-like shapes with a dot of the opposite in each. Mm-hmm. And that is a very profound map of how energy works on the plane of duality, the plane of normal consciousness that we spend a lot of our lives living on. And what that diagram suggests is there's the potential, because it's enclosed in this circle, to work with all the energies that life presents, whether they be dark or light, and find a way to bring them into balance and into harmony in this greater structure. In Kabbalah, the Tree of Life diagram consists of 3 columns. The left column, which is mapped to the left side of our bodies, is related to the feminine, the internal, the receptive, the more passive. Mm-hmm. The right column of this diagram is related to the masculine, the expansive, outgoing energy. And the middle column is a place where, if you think about the complementary opposites that's expressed in the Yin-Yang diagram, one side doesn't have meaning without the other. Hot has no meaning without cold.
Absolutely.
Night has no meaning without day. Mm-hmm. This is built into creation, and there's nothing inherently wrong with either. It just is what is. In Kabbalah, we have the left and right columns, which very much deal with the creative tension between the 2 poles of yin and yang, but we also have the middle column, which is a place where one can come into balance and harmony with the different pairs of complementary opposites that are indicated in the diagram of the Tree of Life. So there are these similarities in terms of mapping of energies. The big difference is that in Kabbalah, it's a map of divinity flowing through us. And we can be living vessels of expressing divinity in very simple, straightforward ways that I found to be very profound, and that I share in my book, as well as share in the movement form Sulam Chi.
So in the Taoism, in the yin and the yang, when you have that center circle, which, you're right, there's that dot in the middle. And I guess that is that sense of the balance, just like in the middle. Is that what you were saying?
No, in the Yin and Yang diagram, there's no dot in the middle, but if you can picture these two fish-like shapes that have a very large part and then they get narrow and connect.
Right. But isn't there a little bit of, isn't there a little circle within the white and of dark, and then in the dark a little, that's what I meant, the little dot there. Is that what balance is?
That's an indication that nothing is pure in and of itself.
Gotcha.
There's always a hint of the opposite in the other. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the overall balance is encapsulated in the circle that surrounds them both.
Okay. Then that makes sense. Thank you.
And it's constantly, and it's just as we know life is, it's a constant dance of moving energy. Nothing's static, even though
nothing.
we look at a picture, on a piece of paper that's two-dimensional, and it doesn't do justice to the fullness of what the diagram is indicating. That both the Yin-Yang Diagram is a living, moving symbol, as well as Kabbalah's Tree of Life is a living, moving symbol of what life truly is, which is ever-changing energy, moment to moment.
Ever-changing. I definitely agree with you. That is, if something is not where you want it to be for a moment, just sit with it. It will move and it will change. And conversely, something you're really enjoying, again, eventually all things change. It's just part of the cycle of life. I know we're getting ready to go into another break. When we return, I'm going to ask Levi to talk about how to use the principles of the Kabbalah and the Tao to live your life wisely, as he's so well expounded in his book. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few moments.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM-FM. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Join Elliot Jolish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jolish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jolish Hour. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson. You're listening to Intuitive Transformations on OMTimes Radio. And we have been talking to Levi Ben-Shmuel for the last 30 minutes or so about the Tao as well as Kabbalah. And, Levi, I kind of promised everyone that we were going to talk about how they can use the information that you've pulled together in your book to live their life wisely. And what I love about your book, you even talk about it in the intro, that this book is written in uncomplicated, direct language. And it's very direct. It's very easy to read. And I have Post-its all through it because, a number of the things I love is that you offer a question for how to implement each one of the nuggets of wisdom that you share in your book, and you leave it up to the intelligence and the inner guidance of the reader, which I really enjoy that, because so many books that are of this nature, the author will give the 5 things they've done, or the 3 things they've done, or the 10 things they've done, and they've worked great for the author, but everybody's a unique individual approaching this all and from their own unique point of view. So can we talk about really how you set this up, which I know is in an archetype of the tree of life, but what led you to pull together this wisdom in this way so that people would have access to it?
Yeah, that's great question, Sylvia. Thanks for asking it. So to continue the story that I started last segment about meeting Tai Chi and being so enamored with Tai Chi, and the power that was clearly expressed in that amazing demonstration that my teacher gave the first time I walked into his studio. Over the years of studying, and I made Tai Chi my spiritual path. I fell in love with it. I devoted a tremendous amount of time to it. I got so much out of it. But I knew something was missing for me. I moved to Israel a few years after I stopped studying with my teacher. And a friend of mine sensed this didn't sense. I told him point blank that I was looking for something more than what I'd already discovered. And I began to look at the Jewish path as a way to find out what I was truly looking for, which was a more direct connection with God, with the Creator. He directed me to this Kabbalah teacher living in Jerusalem. And he said, I think this woman has what you're looking for. Her name was Hadassah Ben Yishai. And I set up a meeting with her to find out more about what she did. And in that first meeting, Sylvia, she talked about the divine romance, which you mentioned in the intro. And the more she talked about it, I could feel that she was living an intimate relationship with God, with every cell of her body. The light and the energy that was pouring off of her was intoxicating. And I knew that this is what had been missing from my Tai Chi training and what had been missing from my life, that I wanted my own deep, intimate relationship with the divine. It turns out that she used Kabbalah as a tremendous tool to share with her students this love relationship that she was living with God.
And so how did she, just very briefly, how did she do that? What you described sounds like true enlightenment, true peace of mind, true joy, true bliss. It's what many are looking and searching for. How is it, what did she teach you that was so profound that it caused you to move in this direction?
Well, first let me say that this is a very, very unique individual. I've run across very few people in my life that have, for whatever reason, were gifted with this kind of access to realms of consciousness and being and realms of love that are beyond the experience of most people. So I feel incredibly fortunate that I was able to meet and work with this person who was very hidden. She didn't advertise. She didn't have a big school. This is somebody that you just found out about through word of mouth. And many people came across her door through word of mouth.
So you were led and guided.
Exactly. And just like with Tai Chi, there was this knowing that I have to follow this, I have to explore this. Meeting Hadassah that first time, I had no doubt in my own being that this is the person I need to work with, and this is something that I want to devote a tremendous amount of energy to because of my own yearning and my own desire for that closeness. So what she did was, each session was an absolute adventure and joy that she had this incredible access, as I mentioned, to realms beyond what most of us can touch. And she would receive guidance session by session as to what a student needed to open up and to have more access to that own relationship, which is available to each and every one of us.
Beautiful. So in providing the wisdom that you have in the book, is this then a doorway to get at least somewhat near in that direction?
Yeah, so to continue answering your question, so in terms of how the book came to be, after years of working with her and learning to sense and work with these emanations of divine energy that live in each of us, that are mapped in a very specific way to our bodies, the first step in wanting to share these teachings with the world was the creation of the Kabbalistic movement form called Sulam Chi, the ladder of life force energy that you mentioned in the intro. Another one of her students had the inspiration to create some kind of Kabbalistic movement form that would embody the 10 energies of the tree of life through movement. Knowing that I was a Kabbalah teacher, I started teaching in Jerusalem in 1993. He came to me asking if I could help intuit what these movements might be. So I did, and this beautiful, simple, elegant, and profound form was created in Jerusalem back in 1999, where through very simple Tai Chi-like movements and focusing on the different body associations with these emanations of divine energy, it was an amazing gateway to help people get a sense of touching these energies and physicality within your own being, and then learning to work with them and open up to them. There are prayers / intentions that go along with each of the movements, and it's a very easy way to begin the journey of working with these Kabbalistic energies. The form only takes a few minutes to do. I do have a DVD called Sulam Chi, A Dance of Life, if anyone's interested, and we can talk later about how to get it. But what I realized, Sylvia, was the DVD and Sulam Chi, as wonderful as they are, not everybody is going to take the time, especially nowadays, to learn any kind of movement form, or they're not inclined to do anything like that. And so I still had the desire to share these teachings in a way that was accessible to as many people as possible. And that's where the idea for the book came from, that I can do it in a simple, straightforward way from my heart to your heart and share the amazing, amazing wisdom teachings from both Kabbalah and Tai Chi in a way that would be accessible to anybody.
Wow. So the movements that you've created, these Tai Chi movements that are that allow you to connect energetically with the Kabbalah, what do people experience as a result, those who do practice the movements? Hello?
Well, it's hard for me to say. Look, it's hard for me to say exactly one's experience is, but they certainly feel a deep sense of connection to themselves, to this greater energy. People report feeling a deep sense of peace. People have reported when with the different energy centers that they receive kind of insight that transforms them in some kind of way. So there are, I'm deeply touched that people have benefited from doing movements in all these different ways.
Wow. So there was a little bit of a sound distortion there. Can you repeat that again? I'm so sorry. Something happened.
Oh, no problem at all. So people have reported in doing Sulam Chi a deeper sense of connection to their own essence, a deeper sense of connection to this unconditional love that is at the root of our relationship to the divine, and in some sense, our relationship to life. They've reported a deep sense of peace, and in working with the different energy centers and these different prayers and intentions associated with them, people have reported having profound insights that help them move forward in very important ways.
So this is a very meditative, beneficial tool in a meditative sort of way, I take it.
It's very much a prayer in motion kind of experience. Yes, and it only takes a few minutes to do. You can do it in a very small space. It is certainly designed for modern life.
Wow, I think I may have to pick up one of those copies. That sounds absolutely great, Levi.
And I'd be happy if you want to talk about it with your audience, if you really do.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this after the break that's coming up shortly. Before we go, though, I know we're going into another break in just a moment. Real quick, the insight in the book, if people just take one nugget of wisdom at a time and maybe meditate on that throughout their day, I mean, this is going to create some shifts because you have great thought-provoking questions in here.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, the book is organized according to the energetic flow, the classic energetic flow of Kabbalah's Tree of Life. Each section is a reflection of that energetic, and you don't have to know anything about Kabbalah. You can just flip open to any page of the book. Each chapter stands alone.
I love it. We're going back into another break. When we return, we're going to continue this conversation. I'm going to have Levi explain to you how you can get this DVD that he was just sharing about, and also how to get this book. I think you want to have this book. It's really chock full of great wisdom. We'll be back in just a moment to continue that conversation.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hello and welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson, and I have with me Levi Shmuel.
Ben-Shmuel.
Ben-Shmuel. I am learning to speak Hebrew here, everyone. And my mouth is not working properly. So, before we continue, Levi, can you please talk a little bit about how people can get your book, how they can get the DVD, and do you have any upcoming events that you'd like to talk about as well?
Sure, Sylvia. You can go to my website, LeviBenShmuel.com. That's spelled LeviBenShmuel.com to find out more about Sulam Chi, find out about the book. You can order the DVD via the website. It's available on Amazon. You could go to your favorite local bookstore and order Living Wisely, or you can also order it on Amazon as well. And I do have 2 upcoming events. A week from today, November 8th, from 9 to 12:30, for those of you who are either in Northern California or know somebody in Northern California in the Bay Area, I will be doing a Sulam Chi workshop at Congregation Kol Shofar. You need to RSVP by November 6th to Ricky Singer, and the phone number for her is 415-388-1818, extension 100. And for those of you in the Bay Area, on Tuesday, November 10th, I'll be giving a talk about my book, Living Wisely, at 7:30 p.m. at the East West Bookshop. That is located at 324 Castro Street in Mountain View. And to reserve a seat for that event, you can call 650-988-9800. And the Sulam Chi event, Congregation Kol Shofar, is in Tiburon, which is in Marin County.
Beautiful. So just once again, I want to remind everyone that the website is Levi Ben-Shmuel. And it's
good.
Levi, B as in boy, E, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, H, M as in Mary, UEL.com. And also that link is on the show description page as well. And that's going to be available. The show will be available in the archive section on OMTimes.com. And you can find that information there as well if you weren't able to have a pen or paper handy while you've been listening to the show. So
I just want to mention one more thing. Also, via my website, I have a lot of offerings, including my music and including Kabbalistic life coaching. So if anyone's interested, they can find out more from there and be in touch via the website.
Wow, fascinating. That is wonderful. So in Living Wisely, when you were putting this together, what do you think, when you were looking at every page is just, it's brilliant. It's a distillation of absolute truth, right? And so when you were putting this together, though, was there something that jumped out to you that you thought, this is really what people need to hear? I mean, I think everyone needs to read every page of this, but was there something in it that you just felt, wow, it just really blew you away?
Well, first, thank you for the wonderful compliments on the book. I deeply, deeply appreciate that. And I'm so thrilled that the energy came through for you, that you said what you said about my book. The truth is, this book, when it was finally time for me to write it, in some way, it came to me in a flash, and I had this burst of writing what I call these wisdom statements, which start each chapter. And just to read a couple of them to give your audience a flavor of them, under the section of loving kindness, one that I love is, being kind is being great. Mm. And there's there's Kabbalistic reasons behind that. In the section on strength, laughing at yourself is a great strength.
So important.
Yeah. Under the foundation section, you're an instrument of blessings. Under dignity, you're at your best when you're authentic.
And that is so hard for people, isn't it? to be authentic these days.
It is. There are all kinds of challenges and messages that we're bombarded with that are subtly or not so subtly asking us to be something that we're not in the consumer society that we live in. So to take a book like mine, which in some sense all these wisdom statements are reminders of who we really are, reflections of the divine. We truly are, we can be instruments of blessing when we acknowledge who we are, when we acknowledge the magnificent beings that we've been created as, each unique, totally unique, to be reminded of what the potential is, of what our lives can be, and to be inspired to do the work that's necessary to live the kind of lives that we want, connected to this unconditional love at the root of creation, to be in this love relationship with the divine and let that joyous light shine through us, I think is one of the greatest gifts that we can give.
I agree with you. And, you know, what I really do appreciate about your book is that for every twist and turn and curveball that you may experience in life, you have something that speaks to that. I particularly enjoyed the section on endurance. You know, just flatly telling someone don't give up is tremendous, because I think that even though love, unconditional love, is the dominant energy of all things, and that's where all things emanate from, when life becomes challenging, we lose sight of that, and we think that energy that we associated with love, whether it's God or the universe or life, is against us when something's not going our way. And what I appreciate and really do love about your book is that you give the reader insights to negotiate when life is throwing you a curveball. Yes.
Thank you for saying that. And it's so true, Sylvia, that when life is hard and when tremendous challenges come our way, it could be very difficult in those moments to have any sense that there is any love behind what's going on.
Exactly. It's hard to think of love as being unconditional when things are not very comfortable.
Exactly. And even, you know, the intellectual notion that these challenges are opportunities for growth, are opportunities to clear away things that have been preventing us from living a more fulfilling life, it could be really difficult. So I'm happy that if one thing about the book is if it can help someone in difficult times have a little bit of hope, a little reminder that there is, regardless of the difficulties, this love rooting for us to get through and to flourish, then that's a service I'm very grateful for.
Oh, that's tremendous. And then I'm sure coupled with the Tai Chi movements that you've co-created that allow people to have a tactile, tangible experience of connecting with the divine, making it a lot more, this ethereal, invisible field, more real for them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and then coupled with feeding their mind and intellect with these great words of wisdom.
Yeah. So as we know, there are many, many ways to navigate the twists and turns of life. And I'm very grateful to provide these offerings, which you know have touched me deeply, and to be able to share them in the book form and in the form of Sulam Chi, and also through my music. I do have a CD as well out called Take a New Road, which one could access via the website. All different paths to connect to this underlying energy that is rooting for each of us to succeed and to have the most fulfilling lives that we can have, and to be the greatest blessings that we can be. These are gifts that I'm very, very grateful to share.
That's beautiful. Well, I really do appreciate you following your guidance, creating what you've created, following the purpose in your life through how you've been directed one step after the other. It's just such a beautiful unfolding in of itself. Levi, I apologize if I have just chopped up your name, but I want to tell you.
No apology required.
I so appreciated having you on the show. This has been really, really lovely, and you're a very lovely person. And I just want to encourage those who are listening, please go to his website. It's LEVIB as in boy, EN, S as in Sam, HM as in Mary, UEL.com, and pick up this book on Amazon. It's very easy. Living Wisely, that's the title. It doesn't get much simpler than that. And pick up the DVD and integrate those beautiful Tai Chi movements that he's created as well. He's just got a very warm heart, I tell you, just intuitively. I picked that up right away when we first connected. So I just want to thank you so much for joining me on the show as we get ready to complete our time together.
Sylvia, well, thank you so much. It's been an honor and a joy to share this time with you, and I deeply appreciate your invitation to share my work with your audience and with you.
Thank you. Well, the pleasure has been all mine. I just want to remind everyone I'll be back here again next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time and 6 p.m. Pacific. I'll have Linda Howe with me, and we're going to talk about her brand new book, Discover Your Soul's Path Through the Akashic Records, Taking Your Life from Ordinary to Extraordinary. And as you know, tomorrow this show will be available for podcast download on OMTimes.com. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful week. Until we meet again. Bye-bye.